Right, so here I am at the Thanet Observatory behind me, and I'm looking at the EQDrive system today that we've wired up to the telescope. So come on in and we'll take a look. Right, in we go. Menace with camera.
Oh, no.
So there's Alex and Fern, waiting for the workmen out there to lay the floor. Okay, might go via the pond. Okay, so back to the observatory now, and we'll you can hear there's a fairly, a trunk road near the nature reserve. It's the A299 Thanet Way, and it actually runs at the top of the cliffs over there. The reserve is vaguely triangular in shape, and the road runs along behind the trees here. And that's actually a problem for us when we're observing in the observatory, because there are street lights all along there, LED street lamps, and they are a little bit intrusive, to be honest. And we've tried asking the council to shield them, but so far our pleas have fallen on deaf ears. Okay, this is Dragonfly Pond, you can see over my shoulder, and this is a lovely spot in the summer. There's something swimming in there. Oh, it's a moorhen. Okay, I hope you can see that. Hello, moorhen. It's in the lily pads there. It might be a bit hard to see on this wide angle camera. And in the summer there will be lots of dragonflies in this area, which hence the name Dragonfly Pond. And also it's quite frequently visited by grass snakes, which feed off the newt population. So there's a very, very strong colony of great crested newts in the pond, and lots of they make great food for snakes. The snakes love them. Not so lucky if you're a great crested newt, I guess. So okay, I think the snakes are probably hibernating by now. So this part of the path is called Snake Pass. All of the parts of the nature reserve have got little cute names they've given to it. So this is Snake Pass in honour of the grass snakes. And the part I'm coming into now, my own pet name for this is the Whispering Woods, because in the summer when there are leaves on these trees, the slightest bit of breeze and they all whisper. Now of course they have shed all their leaves and are completely bare. Okay, so we are right up to the cliffs now. These are the chalk cliffs. The nature reserve historically was a chalk quarry. Some of the chalk from here was used in the construction of Monkton Airport, I believe, which is just along the road. And I don't like the look of those clouds over there. That looks a bit threatening to me, but the observatory's open, so I better go and shut the shutters. Okay, and as you can see, there's the observatory behind me, and Good grief, I think the Hells Angels are out. Those sound like Harleys to me. Okay, let's just pop across here and you can see our little observatory complex. So the big green one is the Thanet Observatory, and the small white one behind it is the Margate Automatic Observatory, or TAO, which is where we test all our software. And that's a fully robotic, internet-enabled observatory. It's completely autonomous. It has a weather station and also uses weather data from the internet to decide every night whether it's safe to observe, and if it thinks the sky is clear, it will open up and start taking pictures of things that we've put in a database weeks or months ahead of time, and things that we've asked it to take pictures of, and it opens up and picks a target off that list based on whatever it thinks is best to observe at the time, and away it goes and does it. Very clever stuff, thanks to a piece of software called ACP, or Astronomer's Control Program, which was written by Bob Denny. Okay, in we go. Little door we have to duck, and then a few steps up, and then a bit of junk that I've brought with me today, and we're in. So here's the telescope. This is a 1970s vintage Fuller Scopes convertible Newtonian classical Cassegrain. So it has interchangeable secondaries. The one that's in there at the moment is a Newtonian flat diagonal, and there's also a spherical mirror, and there is an eyepiece up here under this cover somewhere. There it is. And there's also the primary mirror has the hole in it, so the whole thing can be a Cassegrain. And we've never actually used it in Cassegrain mode. That'd be something to try maybe this year. You may remember a couple of weeks ago we looked at a new telescope drive system called the EQDrive, which is a Ukrainian product. And here we are a few weeks later, and we've got the telescope all completely wired up with it. And we've installed new motors on the telescope, both axes, and all the wiring's been redone, and under the floor there is the EQDrive. So that wires up to the computer over here, which we normally use AstroPlanner for our observing sessions. So if we open up AstroPlanner, and the EQDrive system uses a product called EQMod, actually EQASCOM, as its driver. So here we go, we have a little planner here. This just has all the Messier objects in it, and we can go ahead and connect to the telescope, and there's EQASCOM, and that just automatically stays on top of other apps that are running. And so we can now pick a point on the sky. So you can see here that the telescope is not parked, and we can just pick a point on the sky here, and say, for example, NGC, whatever that is. So the telescope's currently in its park position, as you can see, pointing at the North Celestial Pole, and so we can go off over here to NGC 896, which I think is the double cluster in Perseus, if I remember rightly, and we can slew to it, and off we go, and the telescope is slewing. The new motors are much smoother than the old ones used to be, and we discovered that the old motors really couldn't drive themselves without any load on, so they really needed replacing. And the telescope does a little bit of a jiggle when it gets to where it's going. And okay, so we have this thing here, which is a Xbox wireless controller, Xbox 360 wireless controller. So power it up, connects to the computer, and we should be able to, using the joystick, now we have to increase the speed of the axis because by default it's on guiding speed. So if we increase right ascension and declination speeds, and then using the joystick, still not working. Okay, so let's have a look. Are we increasing our rate? So we are not. So maybe we need to initialize the game controller. So let's just pop out the settings here and go in here. Start calibration. Yeah, that's working. Okay, so apply settings, and yeah, okay, that's working now. I don't know why that wasn't working, but you can see the rate here increasing. We can put the settings away. Okay, so that's up to about 800 sidereal. Okay, and then, okay, so using the joystick here, we can move the telescope. Good, and that's, because this is a wireless controller, we can come over here to the eyepiece and look in the telescope and control it using the joystick and get our star centered. It's good when it works. There we go. Okay, and then when we're done, I've mapped one of the buttons on here to park, so I just press that and the telescope goes to the park position and shuts down. So that's all really brilliant. So in summary, EQDrive, I'm really impressed with it for the price. It's unbeatable. It works quite nicely even with this quite large telescope. This is a 12-inch Newtonian, and it's not lightweight by any means, and the drive system has no problems. It's just got an ordinary, fairly cheap 12-volt power supply powering it. It's actually a power supply that's designed for CCTV cameras, but we've just modified it slightly to power our telescope, and it works fine. I can't fault it. The only thing is, I bought it originally for a different telescope, which was a fork mount, and I haven't been able to make the software work in a way that's suitable for fork mounts, because this is a German equatorial. So when you're in the south and you cross the meridian, the whole thing has to reverse both axes, and that's called a meridian reversal, and that's no good for fork mounts because the imaging train would have to pass through the forks, and my imaging train is way too big to do that. So I wasn't able to use it on the instrument I originally bought it for, but luckily this telescope needed a new drive system and we were able to repurpose it for that. So far I'd give it 8 or 9 out of 10 for value for money, for sure, and everything just worked perfectly. So I've been Tim from Tiger Astronomy. Thanks for watching and goodbye.